Are you a health educator who's desiring to monetize your health knowledge online, but you struggle with knowing how to prioritize your focus, how to know what kind of things that you could do to focus on right now to grow your business? If so, I'm going to take a clip. I had my editors take a section out of an interview I just did with Rawlin, who is a brilliant marketer. He shared some gems during this interview. It's a longer interview, so I wanted to take that chunk to make sure that none of you missed it. This is really powerful. It helps you to know how to focus, what to do to not be overwhelmed, how to know that you're doing the right thing at the right time in the right sequence and manner. This is just so filled with wisdom and nuggets coming from someone who's made multiple six figures in their business, monetizing his health knowledge online. And I think this will be super valuable for any of you who are looking to know exactly what to focus on in growing a profitable health education business. So we're going to play that clip here right now.
If you can get 100 people working on your problem instead of just you get way faster farther, right? Because you're looking at that same problem from 100 different directions.
I really like what you said about if you had 100 people in a room seeking to solve your problem, you think you're going to get better quality answers. I was talking to someone who we were speaking together, and she had been referred to my challenge, my High Income Health Expert Challenge, by a mutual friend of ours. And I was sharing like, hey, I accepted you into the group. And she's like, oh, I thought I deleted that, or I thought I didn't join or decline that. I was like, oh, okay. Well, would you like to know more about the challenge? And she's like, no, I'm at max capacity right now. I've already seen it. And I was like, when you say you're at max capacity, does that mean that you have like so many clients in your health business that you don't know what to do with? Or are you struggling to know how to prioritize? You got a lot of responsibilities and not sure which one to do. And then she's like, well, the latter. I don't have so many clients. I was actually going to do a planning session with myself to figure out what marketing strategies I can do. And then I was like, okay, what way can I add value and help her? And I gave her some feedback of how she could generate more leads from her organic Facebook group, just like 2 quick tweaks that lead to major peaks. For automatic client acquisition, she heard that in a voice note. She's like, this is so helpful. Then she's like, well, can you tell me more about the challenge? And then she joined the challenge. Her mind was blown. She's like, this has made me rethink the whole way that I'm doing business. This is making so much sense. In just a few short hours, she was able to drastically change the way that she is communicating and learning those skills to actually pay the bills and to reach more people. And like what you said, it's by having other minds looking and solving your problem. How many health educators are trying to have an audience of one and try to solve the marketing problems by myself when they don't have to do that? They can put themselves in an environment of a group of people who are all learning together and have already spent hundreds or thousands of hours of investing in resources and time and energy and money to figure out how to solve the problem you have, and we come together and we're able to go so much further together. I like what you shared there.
Yeah, it's and that's the right advice. It reminds me of usually people. Can I just share like a little teaching thing that's probably one of the most like powerful things I've ever discovered?
Yes, and yes, please do.
Okay, you got to give me just a second. So I brought the vibe board. I asked Enoch to kind of cut this out right quick so that you didn't have to worry about me switching things up. But one thing that Enoch that you just said was that this lady had been at capacity, and her reason for not joining the challenge, she said, I'm at capacity. And you made this brilliant question that you asked her. You said that you had mentioned to her, well, are you at capacity because you can't deal with more clients, you can't deal with more customers, or are you capacity for another reason? You're just too busy, you just have all too much going on. And it made me think of this is because every single time that someone is stuck or feels like they're at capacity, or maybe they don't feel like they're at capacity and they know they're ready, it's all a result of, there's a system that, as far as I can tell, that God gave us in Genesis that absolutely is like a productivity blueprint. It's so absolutely mind-blowing Okay, so the very first thing that God said to humans in Genesis 1:26, okay, and this is a practical read. This is kind of like a pattern that you can extract, okay? I'm not saying that this is the only thing that Genesis 1 means or anything like this. This is just a business, marketing, procedural a mechanism that you can use as a reference. And I know that Enoch, you're a believer. I'm sure many of your followers are. Even if they're not, here's a cool thing. Even if you don't believe, here's the people that are even people that are atheists enjoy this. And here's the reason why: is because you can look at it as an ancient wisdom text. Why was this preserved for this long? And here is a fascinating structure that we can pull out of Genesis 1 for very practical purposes, okay? So the first thing that God tells, that he says, let us make man in our image, okay? So he spoke, he said, let there be, and then he spoke to the waters, then he spoke to the land, then he spoke to the land again to bring up the animals, and then he said, he spoke to himself, let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them have dominion over the earth. Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of, anytime that we feel stuck, what we're actually wanting to do is have dominion, right? Like we're saying, oh, I don't have dominion. I don't like not having dominion in this area. I want to solve for dominion in this area, right? Enoch, you ever feel like you want to solve, you want to have dominion in an area? Right?
Can you unpack, what does it mean to have dominion in an area?
Okay, it's really
like conquer a problem, solve a problem.
Conquer a problem.
Yeah.
Solve an issue.
All the time.
Dominion comes from, like, you take kingdom. If you take the word kingdom, it's the king's domain, or the king's dominion, the place in which he has rule and authority. So if you, like, let's say you're overweight. Many of our clients might be overweight. Okay, well, if they're overweight, they don't have dominion in the area of their weight.
So feeling, instead of being like mastered by my circumstances, feeling like a ruler or a master of my circumstances in that like overweight area. Kind of like that too?
Exactly. Like, so they're not, and so they want to be.
Got it.
Right? And so we want these things, and so if you want this thing, that means you're not mastered in the area of that thing, generally speaking. There's circumstantial differences, but generally speaking, on the whole, if you look at it from a long-term standpoint, if you are not having continual success in an area, then you don't have dominion in that area. And usually, it's really hard to diagnose the problem as to why I don't have dominion. Okay? And there's 3 different sections that you can encounter in that book of Genesis. It says, the first thing he says, he blessed them, and he says to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill up the earth, subdue it, and have dominion. So there is a 3-step process to get to the dominion. Now this is going to blow everyone's mind for a second, okay? So hope y'all can see it. Let me actually move to this so you can see this right here. Okay. So let's just map it out. Fruitful, multiply, fill up,
and replenish.
Subdue. Yeah, filling up is replenish.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, fruitful, multiply, fill up, subdue. Here's fascinating. Okay? So, what is fruitful? So, if we go back to what fruitful actually means, its seed is in itself. You can define it a few verses up. A thing is fruitful if it has seed inside itself that makes that seed show up on the outside. Okay? So most people have a dream, they have a desire, they have this thing inside them. They want to conquer their health, they want to have a health coaching business. They want to have it, so they have this seed inside themselves, so they want to. So what do? The first thing they do is they start producing. You start doing stuff, right? So to be fruitful, you produce. But then you don't just produce, you start multiplying your production, okay? That's what seeds do. They proliferate.
So it's like we start producing content, and then we want to proliferate.
We start producing content. We start producing action. We start going in the direction of, we start walking from Egypt to the promised land. You start a production. You start producing a thing. It doesn't matter what it is, right? So if someone is, for example, overweight, they start producing actions differently than they had before,
Like
hoping
push-ups.
that it will make them lose weight.
Yeah.
Right? Push-ups. Yeah, I'm doing some action. Now, will the push-ups get me there? I don't know yet because I don't have dominion in that area. So we're unsure at this point in time, but you're just doing action. So you're laying seeds out to see if these seeds will be the seeds that produce the fruit that you're looking for.
That makes sense.
That's what you're doing. You're producing, right?
So
Okay,
also
and
like
then
creating products, like producing a product, packaging our knowledge into a coaching program or a book, or we're just producing. Got it.
100%. Now here's the issue. Because we live in a world of Newton's third law, there's an equal and opposite reaction to every action. Okay? So as soon as you plant any of these seeds, you're going to have an equal and opposite reaction with the world itself. And the seeds themselves, if you look at an apple seed, for example, you take an apple, you open it up, there's multiple seeds inside. Every single seed has a different genetic makeup. And they will not produce the same apple. They grow up, they have a different apple. Every single one of them will have a different tasting apple. Every single one of them will have a different tasting apple because the genetic variation is different. So every time you produce, that genetic variation, if it's a fruitful endeavor, will have an equal and opposite reaction in the world, will mix with the world, and then you'll have a proliferation of multiple repercussions of what you do that you cannot expect and you don't know what's going to do with it. Right? You have no idea what all you're going to encounter when you start your push-ups. You don't have any idea what all you're going to encounter when you start producing your content. You have no idea what all you're going to get or what kind of comments you're going to get back. Say you produce some content.
That can create some fear,
back.
uncertainty.
It's complete uncertainty, okay? So these things happen. So some people get stuck right there, okay? Now, some people get stuck right here, just at producing, okay? But then some people produce a little bit, and they don't get the proliferation that they're working for, okay? Now, here's what's wild, okay? Now, once this proliferation happens, guess what? Because that proliferation itself is also an equal and opposite reaction to the world, then you've expanded you fill up to capacity your entire world. You don't have a choice. It just happens. How many of y'all, let me ask y'all a question. How many of y'all, tell me the truth now, how many of y'all use all your 24 hours every single day doing something? Wave at me, right? Like, there's nobody that gets 26 hours a day. Everyone gets 24, and you use 100%. You might sleep through it. You might drink coffee. You might produce content. Whatever you do, you fill up to capacity. Everyone is at capacity all the time.
Every day.
No one ever that is not at capacity. Everyone is always at capacity, unless you straight come out of the womb, right? And even then, you just getting some mommy milk as spending your 24 hours of time, right? So what happens? So you've reached capacity. So it permeates. Fix that right quick. It permeates, and this is where it gets really, 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 really important.
I'm looking forward to it. This is good.
It permeates, okay? It permeates your existence. It fills up. You're at capacity. So this young lady that you were talking to, right? And she had filled up her capacity. She says, I don't have more time. See, here's the problem, okay? I don't have more time to be fruitful. I can't produce anymore. I can't do more. I'm already at capacity, okay? I can't invest in no program, right? Like, I can't read no more books. You know, I can't show up for a challenge and spend 5 days or 3 days or 10 days or 2 days doing things. I'm permeated. My entire existence is already permeated. It's already filled up. I am at capacity. Well, that's really fascinating, right? Because that's just like a fruit tree. There's a certain point in time where it starts putting all the branches out. The root systems can't produce no more branches. It just can't. But guess what? There's some branches that's not actually producing the fruit you want. It's just busy activity that's not producing. It's not being fruitful. It's not actually delivering. You're pulling seeds from your inside, but they suck. Some of the seeds you suck out. Like if you plant apple seeds, all of them will produce apples, pretty much. some of those apples will be so bitter, so sour, nobody can eat them.
That's true.
And that's the deal. Because some of your production is bad production. It's doing the wrong things. And not only are you doing the wrong things are proliferating. Because you're getting an equal and opposite reaction of your proliferation. And then that is permeating, and so you've exponentially multiplied the bad fruit. And so you're saying, but I'm trying so hard, I'm working so hard, this is so wrong. Problem is you haven't focused on subduing. What is subduing? Subdue is a compound word. It's to subdue, put things lower in their proper place and order. So you're putting things in its proper place and order. Do you know what that means? That means this. The next step after permeation is always to prune. You have to prune that production that is not yielding the right proliferation, that's not yielding the right permeation, but instead only brings the thing you don't desire. So what do you have to do? You have to prune out those. What is that? That's a hierarchy of value.
I like. It reminds me of what Brendon Burchard said when he said, sometimes, a lot of times, your busy work is stealing from your life's work. And it's like, we got to stop doing what's not working so we can start learning or start doing what actually works. So I love what you're saying. This makes a lot of sense.
And so the thing is because someone's life is already permeated, you can't. So here's the deal. You're already ranking order with a hierarchy of value. Hierarchy of value. You're already ranking order what's most important things to do. So these are all production activities. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this.
Like my mama always said, our best thinking got us here.
Our best thinking got us here. And so here's the deal. You may have, so if you want to lose weight, for example, here's a great example. You may want to lose weight, and you think that's really high on your hierarchy of value, for example, right? But here's the problem. You like the taste of donuts better.
Yeah.
So as long as the taste of donuts, the pleasure of donuts, is higher on your hierarchy of value than losing weight, you will always be unhealthy. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
And so what do you have to do? You have to
eat prunes.
Subdue, right? You have to prune. You have to subdue and put things in its proper place. How do you do that? How do you know? Because guess what? Your best thinking already got you there. How do you figure out how to reorganize the actions that will and won't?
The way I do it is get a mentor.
That's exactly where I was going. You go to the mentor that's already producing that. They already have dominion in that area. They've already pruned that which isn't working. And they can look at what you're doing and show you what you have to prune. And then you get radical fast succession. Otherwise, you have to spend 40 years in the wilderness because you're unwilling to yield to the pruning.
Wow. Wow.
That's what happens. Because God had to get the Egypt out of the Israelites because they were unwilling to get out of it. So he had to let that entire generation pass that was in bondage because they was going to rebuild that bondage in the promised land. And that couldn't happen. So you don't want to rebuild the bondage that you're already in. What you want to do is you want to find a mentor, you want to find a coach, you want to find a system that can produce that which you've not yet produced, right? Something that already has dominion in an area and that can help you prune out what is not fruitful. So I hope that was helpful. I think that usually when I share that with people, it really blows their mind because it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. So you mean to tell me all I have to do is yield and do what the coach and mentor says? Yeah, here's what you do. You look at testimonials, you look at their track record. If they are actually helping people produce the dominion they seek in a certain area, then guess what? They can help you do that, most likely. If they've done it in themselves and they repeated it over and over and over again, that's the reason why Enoch has shelled out hundreds of thousands of dollars on mentors. That's the reason why I have shelled out hundreds of thousands of dollars on mentors. Why? Because it gets you there faster, because it shows you what to prune. The ultimate coach is God himself. What does he tell you to do? What is the 10 Commandments? It's a hierarchy of value teaching you what you prune.
Yeah.
That's in what proper order. That's what it is. That's the reason why it came right after the golden calf. Because they had a hierarchy of value, and they had built the golden calf. They were resurrecting Egypt in the desert with the golden calf. He had to bring a new 10 Commandments to do that same thing, but you can take that you can apply that principle, that pattern to your marketing side of things, because if you got the health knowledge and you know you can produce the results, but you don't have clients, then you have dominion in this area, not in this. The problem is you have some production problems, which is actually basically the same thing as repentance on a microcosm scale, because metanoia in Greek, repentance, means to change your mind and change your direction.
Yeah, like turning away.
Enoch, you said just a second ago, you have to rethink the way you were thinking in order to be successful.
Yeah.
That is the definition of repentance, because you had to change the direction of your thoughts. That's the same thing as pruning. You had to prune the thoughts that wasn't working and put in the thoughts that are working. Those become seeds. Those have a natural equal and opposite reaction with the world. They will proliferate, they will permeate, and then it's all over again with the pruning until you reach the dominion.
This makes so much sense what you're saying, because like you shared with health in the very beginning of this interview, we have many things to learn and many things to unlearn. Because while the popular education is showing that like these diseases are not reversible, many of these chronic diseases, but when we realize how much lifestyle, nutrition, and these simple natural things that God has given us the ability to heal itself, in learning the health education, we had so many things to unlearn and relearn. Same thing with learning health marketing. There's a lot of like misinformation that we got from people who've never had a successful business. Like what you were saying is that people aren't interested in changing. People don't want to change their diet or their health. And I'm like, we have 15,500 paying clients who've actually paid to transform their life, their diet, their lifestyle, who are interested. So it's like, that's not something that you do by accident. There's a system for being able to do that. So as a lot of people think that there is nobody wants to hear, well, it's because the system, the manner in which we're presenting it is oftentimes not the same way that we actually relearned ourselves. So what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It's the pruning of...
To me, this is the foundation of marketing. Because, see, what you have to do as a marketer is help them prune the bad ideas out of their mind to make them want to shift the way they do things. And if you can then create a system that does that on automatic, so it doesn't require you clocking in and out every day.
That's exactly right.
Changes everything.
So true. In fact, there's a chapter in my book that is called The Automation Effect. And it talks about what really it shows how to start getting clients on demands, where you're able to automate your client acquisition and keep and retain the customers, because that's a skill that a lot of health educators don't know. But when you have those systems in place, it doesn't require you to physically be there every time you make a sale, and it makes a huge difference.
It really does change the name of the game.
Did you like that clip? Well, if you enjoyed this video, then you're going to absolutely love my book on high-ticket health coaching. I want to send you a free copy to you. You just cover the cost of the shipping. I'll cover the cost of the book. I already bought it, and I'd be happy to send it to you. In this book, this is what you're going to learn, how to monetize your health knowledge online. You're going to learn the secrets of making big money with a small audience. This is how my family was able to generate in our family business over $500,000 in profit without having a big email list, without having a large social media following. You don't need millions of followers in order to make millions of dollars. You don't need hundreds of thousands of subscribers or followers in order to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, we've been able to do this with where barely anybody knows who I am, but these are, in this book, reveals the secrets, the principles, just pulling back the curtain of the marketing minds and investments and mentors, some of the best lessons I've learned. And I've already invested in big name, spent over $100,000 in learning and investing in the marketing strategies. And I just found the 5% that works really, really well. And that's the only thing that I put in this book. So go ahead and grab your free copy. Go to the website, highincomehealthexpert.com. And I'd love to send you a copy. You just cover the cost of shipping. I'll cover the cost of the book. And tell me where to send your copy at.